There's some breaking transfer news coming out that Man City have entered the race to sign Declan Rice and have offered a little bit more than £100 million to sign him. This is absolutely embarrassing for Arsenal. They've completely capitulated. The Premier League title race, 247 days they spent at the top. And then they're one big transfer target. I know Caicedo is a target for Arsenal fans as well. Maybe a few other players through the door. Havertz. Declan Rice was the jewel in the crown. An England international, versatile, a leader. He's a big, big player. And the fact Arsenal have looked like they've let Man City into the race is absolutely massive in the summer transfer market in the Premier League. In this video, I'm going to break down where Declan Rice plays for Man City, how it kind of works out as an initial overview, and of course the kind of details of the move. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Would really appreciate that. Declan Rice, obviously, let's just take about what we know about Declan Rice. He's a guy that's played hundreds of football matches already at the highest level for West Ham United, 23-24. He's probably top 5 most important players at the club. It's as simple as that, because he's literally been the captain to lift European silverware for a club like West Ham. A club when I was growing up was Championship, borderline Championship, bottom half Premier League. To get them consistently in Europe, and then he's operated at that level. He's been their best player for 2, 3, 4 years. And he's still only, 23, 24 years old. He's a big, big talent. There's absolutely no question about it. You have to throw in your England hat as well. He's been fundamental to how we've played, getting to our first final since 1966. And of course, the World Cup as well. He was fantastic. So he's the kind of future of the England midfield. He's the base of the midfield. He's probably the first name on the team sheet when everyone's fully fit for Gareth Southgate. And I think he'll be looking to try and be that for Pep Guardiola or Mikel Arteta. I think he wants the move. He's desperate to move. He wants to play the highest level of football that he possibly can. From my understanding about the player, this is the reality of the transfer, that I think he probably wants to join Arsenal ahead of Man City. I think he likes being in London. I think he'd like to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond, with all due respect to Arsenal in terms of, at City. I'm not saying Arsenal are a smaller club than City. I'm saying in terms of the pool of talent, you are going to be a smaller fish. There's a world where, Kovacic, and you see Phil Foden play in midfield, Rodri, Calvin Phillips is a fantastic player. He's played alongside Declan Rice at England level, and he barely got a game. I know he's injured, but I mean, he was barely trusted. It's not just about being a good midfielder at City. It's about actually understanding the intricacies of how to play in a Pep Guardiola midfield. His whole managerial style since 2007-8 has been about wanting almost 11 midfielders, that can all be interchangeable, can all be inverted, and all come in and interact with the ball. So it's not about Declan Rice coming to Man City and being a good midfielder. It's about being a good Guardiola midfielder. It's a whole different ball game. So that would be his trepidation about joining Man City. He could go to Arsenal. It could be a little bit simpler, a little bit more of a base, and then he can maybe kick on from there and join a more exciting project, if there is one, in the future. So Declan Rice, is he worth £100 million? For me, he is. He is. I think when it gets to 110, 120, you're looking at someone, when I was growing up, Gareth Barry, and he gets a lot. He gets a lot of kind of joke, memey kind of comments about it, but Gareth Barry, I don't see much difference between Gareth Barry and Declan Rice in their prime. I'm not trying to wind anyone up. Gareth Barry kept it simple. He could float through midfield, the kind of first stages of midfield, and then give it off to someone a bit more talented. He could drop into, obviously he's played left back for Aston Villa, could drop into anywhere in the back line during the game and just pick up that position. And obviously on the ball, he was simple and tidy with it. Gareth Barry went for 20 mil, 15 mil, that kind of, maybe that's just inflation. Declan Rice for anything over 100 mil is absolutely crazy. Don't forget, Jack Grealish went for £100 million. He's a forward, more of a kind of playmaker. He can kind of create goals, and Declan Rice would have to score and be involved in a lot more goals than he currently is at West Ham to justify anything over £100 million for me. The big thing for City that Arsenal don't have is that City can just offer that money and it doesn't have to work, which is surreal to say that as a football fan. Arsenal could sign Declan Rice. If he gets injured or if it doesn't work out in terms of his form, they're stuck. They're stuck with an aging Jorginho. They're stuck with Partey leaving Saudi Arabia. They're stuck with, I'm not sure, Lokonga, will he be involved in the squad next season? I'm not sure if he's on loan or permanent. They've got no one there really of quality. They've lost Xhaka. Declan Rice could join Man City for £100 million. The club could see it as a good investment for a 5, 6, 7 year contract. And if it doesn't work out year 1, it'll work out year 2. If it doesn't work out year 2, we'll sign someone else and sell him. You know, obviously it's a luxury of having a lot of money, but it's the luxury of being ambitious as well, because City don't go for these kind of targets once every 2, 3, 4 years. We go, you know, mid-season during the Centurion season, we sign Laporte. You know, these are massive moves. We sign Erling Haaland, we sign Alvarez as well. You know, the net spend is obviously a big question mark, but I just look at Arsenal. I think they've spent a lot of money. If they can go out and sign Nicolas Pepe for 75 million quid, before they're even back in the Champions League, it's a couple of years ago, for £75 million, I just believe, from my understanding, looking at it from afar, that they do have this kind of money. Not for loads of players, but if they wanted Declan Rice, I think they could have offered £100 million, a lot more up front, with 10 million add-ons. I don't think it's that crazy in today's market. Arsenal are a big football club. They're back in the Champions League. They've already spent loads of money. They spent more than City in the last 2 summer transfer windows. So this isn't a joke kind of transfer for them. I think them sniffing around Declan Rice so keenly and then losing out in this way would be a massive blow to their confidence going into next season. You almost see it as a bit like when Liverpool signed Van Dijk, when United signed Van Persie. You know, these have massive repercussions in the actual Premier League season come August from that point. So it's a massive moment for Arsenal. If I'm sat there as an Arsenal fan, I hope there's a final bid that can go in that goes close to 110 total, 115 total. Get it done soon. Hope that the power lies with the player and he wants to just say, I want to stay in London. I was going to say Luton then. I want to stay in London. I want to play for Arsenal. It's obviously a great, beautiful club to play for. And maybe City will look at the fact we've already signed Kovacic, and then you've got kind of Phil Foden that can play in midfield now. And maybe Calvin Phillips doesn't want to leave. You know, that's a factor. I think a lot of City fans talking about the Calvin Phillips factor as if he's kind of this pawn and he's on a big contract. If he doesn't agree terms with another club like West Ham, he can't be used as a mate weight. That's just not a reality. So it's very interesting all round. Declan Rice is a big player. He's borderline world class for what he does, but he still has a lot of room to improve, in my opinion. City would obviously take him to a whole different level, and he would be a player that would be gassed to have. There's a world that he actually just plays at centre-back. There's a world that you just bring him in, John Stones and Rodri in midfield, Declan Rice as a centre-back, and you can rotate around. It's crazy. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. The transfer world is absolutely crazy.